Welcome to Easier Movement, Happier Dogs. I'm Mary DeBono, and today we're exploring a concept that's central to the DeBono Moves approach. It's something I call shared awareness. This special state of connection can transform your relationship with your dog and open up new possibilities for both of you. But before we dive in, I want to acknowledge the influence of Dr. Moshe Feldenkrais. He developed the Feldenkrais method for humans, which was groundbreaking, still groundbreaking, right? And his work really helped shape the development of my work, which is De Bono Moves. And while De Bono Moves is specifically designed for dogs and their humans, many of the underlying principles about awareness and movement remain relevant across species. And many of you know I work quite a lot with not only dogs, but horses, cats. I've worked with iguanas, cows, pigs, pet rats, house rabbits, etc. Right? I always say anyone with a nervous system can benefit from this work. So let's get back to shared awareness. What exactly is that? Well, let's just imagine a moment when you and your dog are so tuned into each other that it feels like you're sharing the same experience. But this isn't just like any kind of connection, it's a specific state where both you and your dog are attentive to the same physical sensations. So let me paint a picture for you. Maybe you're doing, say, it's a de Bono Moves process that we call backlifts. And I go into detail about backlifts in my book, Grow Young with Your Dog. But let's say you're doing it. It's a very gentle um, process where you have your hands on your dog's, around your dog's back, and you're just very, very lightly kind of lifting the skin and the muscle up towards the dog's spine. It's very light, very delicate. Right? So you're not just touching your dog, you're creating a dialogue through your contact with your dog. That's what this work is about. It's about creating a dialogue, a conversation, a kinesthetic conversation with your dog, right? So your hands become incredibly sensitive instruments. It's like you start to really learn how to detect very subtle changes in muscle tension, in the response of the tissue, and even in your dog's breathing. So this is very different than other types of connection you might have with your dog. So maybe you're training your dog, right? Which is just such a fun thing to do. Hopefully you're doing positive reinforcement training and you tend to be focused on specific behaviors. So even when you're relaxed and, flexible about your approach to teaching a specific behavior, there is that end goal in mind, okay? And during play, you're sharing joy and excitement. And again, that's a wonderful thing to do, but it's very different than this concept called shared awareness, okay? Because, you know, while training and playing are incredibly important and super fun for you and your dog, shared awareness offers something unique. It's a way to help your dog's nervous system recognize new possibilities. Okay. So let me explain this in more detail. So you're doing the back lift, right? You're delicately supporting and lifting your dog's muscles along the back, but you're not trying to fix anything. That's the key. You're not trying to fix anything. You're not correcting something that's going on with your dog, right? You're not fixing anything. Instead, you're offering your dog's nervous system new information about movement possibilities. Okay? So your dog might respond with deeper breathing, with relaxing those muscles that you're gently supporting, or maybe subtle shifts in position. Maybe a change in the facial muscles you see, change in the way the ears are held or the tail. And here's what makes this truly special. While this is happening for your dog, you're also becoming more aware of yourself. I call it being more connected with yourself. You're more connected with your dog and you're also more connected with yourself. Right? Right? You might notice that you're holding this habitual tension in your jaw, for example, or in your hands or your shoulders or your neck. These are common places, right? And as you release this tension, your hands become softer and more sensitive. Your own nervous system becomes quieter, making it easier to detect subtle changes in your dog. This reduces your stress. This maybe lowers your blood pressure, perhaps, right? It helps you regulate your nervous system. So it's something that you and your dog, this process, you're involved in this together, right? It's helping you both. It's not like, oh, I am doing this for my dog or to my dog. No, it's I'm exploring this with my dog. I mean, we want to do things with our dog, don't we, right? To play, to hike, to, do all kinds of fun activities. You can also learn to feel better in body and mind with your dog. And I think that is where the magic of this approach really shines. Both you and your dog are experiencing like this moment of discovery together. There's no goal to achieve, there's no behavior that you're looking for. You're simply sharing a moment of exploration and awareness. And the benefits are profound. When dogs experience these non habitual sensations, so what you're doing with your hands is novel, it's non habitual, it's not the same as petting or brushing or something like that. So when their nervous systems feel these non habitual sensations, they recognize that they have more options. It's like the nervous system wakes up, kind of gets out of its trance of the familiar, right? So there's like for example, a dog who typically holds tension in certain areas might discover new ways of moving. A dog who tends to react very strongly to certain stimuli might find more choices in how to respond. I remember doing this work with a border collie who had a penchant, unfortunately, for biting horses on the nose. And this dog's person had a horse, and she used to want to take her dog to the stable. But the dog would approach a horse, and horses are naturally, inquisitive, and many of them want to interact with dogs. I know my horse Breeze loved dogs. He always wanted to gently interact with them. But the dog then would suddenly just bite the horse on the nose. And the dog also had other issues, had some aggressive behavior with other dogs and et cetera, et cetera. And and I'm not saying that this is any kind of a quote unquote fix, because we don't fix for any of these aggressive behaviors. So please don't assume that. However, with this dog, what really helped was I first of all observed her as she approached a horse. We made sure the horse didn't get bitten. And we also had other experiences with her where I watched her and I could see that she didn't have the flexibility in her trunk, like in the middle of herself, to just turn quickly, even though she was a young athletic dog. But she was lacking just a little bit of maybe an awareness of how she could move away from a situation more quickly. So I did a session with her right there in the stable. It was just, had her there. She was on the ground. She was perfectly happy. And I, with my hands, basically broke down like, oh, I'll support you here. We'll do this. And we were really listening to each other. That's what I remember so vividly about this was she was really, really listening to the sensations my hands were producing. They were very gentle, very light. And remember that it's like when someone whispers, you pay even more attention because you want to hear, right? So I was, of course, working very lightly with her, and her nervous system was like really paying attention because they wanted to feel this. And it was interesting when she stood up, and then I did some work with her when she was standing and moving. I can see she was so much more flexible in her entire body. And her person was happy to tell me some weeks later, even they gave this a good run, that she wasn't doing any of her aggressive reactions anymore. So it was really pretty cool. And I think that really what the change for her was very much this idea that she had more choice. She didn't feel stuck. She didn't feel trapped in a situation. So if she came up to meet a horse, she felt like she could just move and get out of the way if she felt threatened in any way, right? Horses are big. Compared to her, they were quite large. And so that's just one little example. But there's so much more to it than that, right? Um, and I think even more importantly than that, it's this process, this practice, if you will, helps both you and your dog develop greater self-awareness, right? You become more tuned to your own body, right? And your own thinking, your own movement patterns, and your own behaviors, right? And so it's like both you and your dog are discovering how to move through life with greater ease. And remember, there's no pressure to get it right. Right? I think that's the beauty of this approach. That's the beauty of de bono moves. There's nothing to achieve. You're simply spending quality time with your dog in a way that benefits both of you. And as the tension dissipates, it's replaced by a deep sense of connection and possibility with biological optimism, okay? With knowing that at any stage of life, at any level of fitness, you and your dog can improve to some degree. Your quality of life can improve. So, as we wrap up this episode, I really encourage you to explore this concept of shared awareness with your own dog. So start small. Go, if you haven't checked out my free training, go to marydebono.com/love dog. And just start with small, gentle, either the rhythm circles that I go into. I have a very in-depth training on those. I also have I think it's about a 10 or 11-minute video on connected breathing. That's another really good one you can start with. And so start small, maybe even just a few moments of gentle, supportive contact with your dog, and really focus on what you're feeling, what you're sensing. And I talk a lot about what you're feeling with your hands. And I'm going to encourage you to use all your senses. Start to develop what we call informed intuition. It's like you just start to feel. Maybe you feel a warmth in your heart, right? At certain moments when you're with your dog doing this, right? Maybe that's an indicator for you that you're on the right track. You're helping your dog, that there's this deepening of your connection, this clarity of communication between you. So notice what you feel and notice how your dog responds. Right? And then in next episode, we'll explore another aspect of this work. Okay. And all of the all of the little, you know, um, topics or concepts that undergird this work are really based on this idea that we want to explore a deepening of our connection so we can feel a deepening of our love and harmony with our dog, a deepening of our communication with our dog. And again, that allows both of us to feel better in body and mind and have a more joyful, more harmonious life together. And as I always like to say, it's because you and your dog deserve to feel great together. So please let me know how this works for you. Let me know your experiences. And I love hearing from you. So if you have a particular issue that you're dealing with your dog, I'd love to know about it. Perhaps we could do a podcast episode for you as well. Thank you so much for joining me. And I really appreciate when you subscribe, download, and review the podcast. Can't wait to talk to you again. Bye for now.